Okay, you guys, I am super excited today because we are going to talk to Susan Schultz, who's a dear friend of mine. She currently is the executive assistant for Kevin Bracey, who's a motivational entertainer here in Sacramento. And I just love her. I love her heart. I love who she is. She spoke at a self-love event I had a few years back, and her story is incredible. Her spirit is incredible. So Susan Schultz, thank you so much, dear friend, for coming and talking to us about self-love and your relationship with yourself. And also, I know you have some tips and ideas for us to improve our own relationship. So uh, before we talk about what you're doing now in that regard, let's go back and tell us a little bit about what your relationship was like with yourself when you were younger. How did you feel about yourself? What was that relationship like?
Okay, well, first of all, thanks for having me. So happy to see your face today. Um, I think the first relationship or one of the first major decisions that I made on behalf of myself was when I was probably 10 years old. And due to some like childhood trauma stuff, I remember very specifically thinking that I wanted to gain weight. I wanted to get bigger as a form of protection for myself and as a form of protection for my younger brothers. And I, with intent and purpose, went to eating as a form of protection, and probably became also a form of comfort. And so between the ages of 11, the end of my 6th grade year, and the beginning of my 7th grade year, so in the span of that summer, I gained probably about 50 pounds. And I was a very tall girl, even at 12 years old, but I was also then becoming kind of thicker and bigger. Society around you starts kind of telling you who you are in that space, because you're very limited on your interactions, especially back in those days. There was not internet like there is now. You don't have the constant flow of stuff. So you are really defined, or your sense of self comes from the response that people give you. Like the things that I got in response, like you shouldn't be eating that, all of that stuff kind of tells you who you are before you even have a chance to figure out who you are. So I realized that through my life, the decisions that I've made are based on those kinds of things, based on that sense of worth or value or lack of, or powerfulness or powerlessness, depending on how you look at it.
Wow. And what was there a moment of like a shift in how you viewed yourself in like how did you eventually say, man, I put on this weight to protect myself, and now I want to change that dynamic? What did that look like?
I think I didn't get to quite that part until much after the fact that I changed it. So when my daughter was about 5, I was her solo parent, and I wanted to be around for her. So I had weight loss surgery for that component of it. And realized that even it's not brain surgery. It doesn't change how you think and how you feel and how you operate in the world. When people are telling you, when you're in a grocery store and people are like, do you really need that in your cart? When people see you eating in public, which you try never to do because it's so humiliating, and people will stop and say things to you about what you're eating or what's on your plate, or just a million things. And shouldn't you be going for a walk instead? Or when you're in the grocery store. So there's like a lot of little things where you're just like, okay, well so you have to do this stuff in secret. It becomes this insidious cycle, and you're not recognizing it. One day you realize, you wake up and you're almost 500 pounds. And really I have this little person who is depending on me. And I was afraid, because I was very isolated with her. I didn't have a lot of support from my family. It was just kind of the two of us. And I felt this overwhelming, of course, sense of responsibility for her. So I'm like, I need to do something to prolong my life, because I was afraid that I was just going to die. one day and of my weight. And then you have your surgery and you have your second chance at life, and it's like a second chance at life. You think it is, but at the other side of the weight loss surgery, because it's so romanticized in your mind, you have to do the work. You still have to do the work. And it doesn't come easily. It's not a quick, you have to maintain your job and maintain your relationship with your kid and their school and the expectations. And when things don't go, it's really hard to advocate for yourself when you're just in the flow of going and trying to fit in all the time. And that is what I noticed in my life, just kind of going with the flow, but I was drifting, but I wasn't really owning my part in the world. I would do what I could to, what made me feel great was like community service, being kind, connecting with my friends, giving myself to a cause greater than me. And I found a lot of value and comfort in that, and became more physical and more healthy in the doing. But I didn't even in that space think about my own self-care. It was just my own doing good.
That's what I was going to say. So when did you learn to be kind to yourself? Because we know you have the nickname of Coach Kindness. Well, for those of you that don't know, her nickname is Coach Kindness. And you just radiate kindness and toward everybody. So when and I know doing that is an ongoing process for everybody, right? To show ourselves love, to show ourselves kindness and compassion. But when did that start to shift for you?
About 7 months ago, to be honest.
Yeah.
In our work, I work with Kevin Bracey, and in our work, our local gym out here, CalFit, asked him to be a part of this challenge, to create this challenge. And it was a win the week challenge. And we created it, and I had no intent in being a part of the challenge. I had never gone into a gym before. I was really terrified about going into the gym. But something happened in October that scared me. I had a little chest pains, a heart issue, some kind of something. And I ended up in the hospital overnight. And it really made me pause and think of managing my stress better, managing my time better, managing my life better. I had not incorporated myself into the kindness until that time. And it made me reconsider whether I would join this challenge, which seems like it's just going to the gym. But a gym for a person of any size, or any of the phantom stuff that goes with being that size, knows that that's not a safe place. You don't walk into the space where you feel the most alienated and where you feel the most invisible in that people won't speak to you, but visible in that they notice everything that's wrong with you. So I was going into that with a huge amount of fear and trepidation and dread. And then the challenge started, and my friends were very supportive and showed up for me, and I didn't ever have to go by myself until I made myself go. It was like, you're going to do this. You can do this on your own. And slowly over time, it wasn't like it didn't just happen, but slowly over time, I put myself first. I was like making it a priority to go. I was making it a priority, like checking in with myself and scheduling my time around this, where I'd never had time before, but I was always busy trying to fill it with stuff. But I wasn't really making any progress in anything. I was just thinking a lot of thoughts and really making a lot of plans and really doing a lot of writing, but not, there was no peace and there was no calm. There's a saying, I'm tired, but not from lack of sleep. I'm tired from lack of peace. And I was that tired. That's where I felt. And then I felt myself getting stronger. My body got stronger in the gym, and I started going into the sauna and steaming and like processing and thinking and feeling better. And, people were so supportive, and it was just that started. It's still a little tiny day by day process, because as the gym shut down and you're like, that was the thing. That was the game changer. That in that space was where I was around people who were doing things like that. You go to the gym to do the things. That's all that it's there for. It's like a little hive, and all the little bees go in and they take care of their business. And then you go, and you don't go there for, well, I didn't go for the socialization necessarily. It was a nice benefit because it allowed me to connect with people, where when you're in your own little mind and you're spinning in your nest, you kind of isolate yourself. So it created that need, and that what became a need. It created the connection, and it created the calm, and it gave me more in that space, and then it was gone. And so trying to stay connected to that feeling without the place has been a real challenge. But I still want to stay connected to that feeling. I still don't want to forget that we're on, you have to put yourself first here. You still have to. Even in this time, as things are opening up now, it's like, I don't want to go to the gym yet because it's not safe maybe, or it feels like it might not be safe for a completely different reason. I yearn to go. And I
think that's so amazing, because I know how scared you were and just not about it at the beginning.
Right.
And to watch, literally the things you post on Facebook and Instagram about dating gym. She has this whole thing about her dating gym, and it's the cutest thing. And it was so inspirational for me to see, because I am a huge proponent of walking through fear.
Yes.
And you were this shining example. Oh my gosh, it makes me cry. Of somebody walking through their deepest fear. And that, to me, like, there is no price that you can put on that. It's the work, and it's what has to be done, and it's hard, and sometimes it's, gut wrenching, but to see you do it day after day. So how long would you say that it took for you to stop dreading it and start desiring it?
I had my breakthrough moment on Veterans Day, to be honest. That was the first day that I decided that I was going to go in there by myself. I made it a point. I wasn't going to ask a friend. And everybody was so kind, and everybody wanted to they were my training wheels throughout. Kevin was awesome. So many of my friends were awesome. I took your yoga class on purpose because I knew you would be there, and I know you get me in general. But on Veterans Day, I was like, you're going in by yourself. This is the perfect opportunity, whether you're afraid or not. Like, veterans don't have a choice. Whether they're afraid or not, they're going to go into service and they're going to do their thing. And I used that as like a monument to jump off. And I went into the gym and I walked through, and I only wanted to like walk out by myself like 3 times on the main floor. And I just kept on going, and I felt so awkward and like I didn't know what I was doing. And so you're going to look like you don't know what you're doing. So you're going to look lost. What's the worst thing that can happen? And I got on a machine and I did my thing, and I walked out, and I felt really proud. And I knew that I could do it now. Like, I can do this on my own. And so then I just started doing it on my own, and I felt free. Like, there's no expectation. I don't have to arrange something with someone. I don't have to coordinate anything. I don't have to arrange for childcare. I don't have to, none of those things. It was like, I wanted to go just because I wanted to go. I wanted to move my body. And sometimes I go and I'm like, okay, well, what is it that you want to do? What's your purpose for going? It's not the exercise or the working out always. I keep the self-care in mind. Do I need to sit in the spa, or not the spa? Do I need to sit I haven't built up to the spa yet. Do I need to sit in the sauna? Do I need to go sit out, even when it's like a little bit cold outside? Do I need to go sit out by the pool where it's just all of this space and some water? Like, what is it that I need in this space right now? And then walking in there with the intention of giving myself whatever that looks like. And knowing that I took care of that. I answered the call. I took care of that, of me in that one space. And then the rest of my day always just went so much better. And I felt better, and you're not drifting anymore. You're steering. It's different. The view is different in the driver's seat than it is in the passenger seat.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. So when would you say that you feel like the best version of Susan Schultz?
I think when I find my balance in it's not always. I start things and I shift from one extreme to the other extreme. But if I allow myself, if I stick with it enough and I allow myself time to come to the center, and how do I make space for things that are important to me? How do I prioritize only the things that are important to me instead of putting other people's expectations and priorities ahead of my own? Just holding space for myself and really taking some time to think about what I want my life to look like and what's important to me. Community service is important to me. Connecting with my friends and my friend families are important to me. Peace is important to me. Getting enough sleep, sleep hygiene is a thing. Just all of the components, and thinking that if this is my only life, the one and only life that I get, and I'm part of the equation. Like, I have people have my back all the time. They've got my back. They're my support people. But I realized one day that I didn't even pick my own self for the team. Like, I have to pick myself for my team. I've got a great backup, but they're waiting on me to decide what direction this is going to go. So once I made myself a star player on my own team, and what can I do? If I feel this way, I can do this. I don't have to depend on anybody else to make me feel a certain way. It takes the pressure, and now I can wholeheartedly enjoy the relationships. I had to study my patterns and things. It's a work in progress. I don't have this figured out. Please understand. But it is a consciousness and an awareness and a want and a desire to have a full and vital life, and to experience the things like, what do I want to experience? I ask myself that question a lot. And then taking the action to provide the experience for myself, not talking about it and writing it down and talking to my friends in hopes that someday maybe they'll create that experience for me. It's the experiences. In fact, for your daughter's birthday, one of the things that I have on my list of things I want to do is hot air balloon ride. And then I saw you guys do it and I was so excited, and I'm like, it's getting closer to me because now I know someone who's done it. Like, now I know there's a place to go that is close to me that it's the little stuff, and being excited about what excites you and letting yourself be present in your life. That's where I'm at, trying to just remember that all the time.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I love that analogy of picking yourself for your own team, being the star player, because I know that's a big deal, especially in junior high or high school, when they used to be in PE and you had to be picked for the teams, right?
I was never picked first for anything ever. Picked last every time. Every time.
And then shifting that and going, you know what, it's not somebody else's responsibility to pick me. It's my responsibility to pick me. I mean, that's huge. That is huge. Oh my gosh. So many good little like nuggets of wisdom. And what specific things would you say if somebody came up to you and they're like, I kind of hate myself right now. I'm really not feeling good about what's going on with me and how I feel about myself. What are the things that just pop in your mind as far as advice or tips that you could give somebody that's searching for that?
I think asking yourself, like I've had to ask myself, what experience do you want to have in life? And immediately I will draw a blank. I can tell you right now, if you were to ask me, I would be like, I don't even know. I don't know. So then the next question, the counter question is, well, what experience do you not want to have? Oh, well, I don't want to go through this again, and I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do this, and so it starts taking on that negative. And so what's left is, what do you want? And making a list of those things, and then checking them off as you take the actions to do them, and then sitting back and thinking, what is that experience? Like, I think I told you about this before once, but it always comes back to this for me. And I think about this. There's a book called Eat, Pray, Love. And there's a scene in the movie specifically, right? It's awesome book. It's an awesome, awesome book, especially when you're in between. Like, the character in that book was in between. And I found myself feeling in between. I don't know what I want to do with my life. And now I'm almost an empty nester. My kid is about to be 21 and move out into her own in the world. And every decision I've ever made is based on what she needed, like what school she was going to. So then that's where we determined where we lived and where I worked. And right? All of these things. But now I'm like, what do you want to do with your life? And it has been a really hard question. So then I started asking myself, well, what experience do you want to have? Well, I want to live closer to the water. I still want to hear the geese honk. I still want to. So then you start lining up your next steps with what supports the experience that you want to have. So that's one of the things that I'm doing is like, okay, well, you say you want to do yoga. So sign up for a yoga class. Not enough to say it. And pretty soon you're looking and you're like, this is my life. I go to yoga class once a week, go to the gym every day. I'm eating like this. This is how I feel like I want to dress. So you kind of just start emerging and discovering who you are. And I'm in the middle of a move that was not quite expected. And I'm going through boxes of stuff and I'm finding earrings that I used to wear 10 years ago. And I'm like, oh, I remember her. I remember that. And like, okay, so now I'm discovering who I am in all the phases that I thought I knew who I was. And so I'm starting to incorporate them back into my current day. So I don't know if I answered your question specifically, but what experience do you want to have? And then lining up your actions to provide your own self those experiences.
I love that because so many times we're unconsciously just moving through life without actually stopping and saying, wait a minute, where am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And then what do I want to create?
Okay, so I remembered my point real quickly. So in the book and in the movie, the main character, Liz, and her friend are eating pizza in Italy, and they've eaten all the pizzas in Italy, and they're starting to get a little bit chubby, and one of them is feeling some kind of way about it, and Liz is feeling fine. And the question, or what she said to herself was, I have no interest in being morbidly obese, so I'm going to enjoy the pizza and enjoy the experience and whatever. And what that told me was that you can, if you're aware, if you choose to want to plug in to your own stuff, you can counterbalance whatever the experience that you want to have. It's not controlling you. Like when I started gaining weight, it was in control of me. It was completely like I blinked and woke up 10 years later and you're 500 pounds. Like that, there's an unconsciousness, there's a complete disconnect in your life. You're just going through the motions. That's the thing. When you have no interest in becoming morbidly obese, then you already know the experience that you don't want to have. So that all that lies within is all the experiences that you do want to have that are positive. And I want to enjoy the pizza, the crispy crust, the tangy sauce, the whatever's on top, enjoy it and not feel guilty about it. So that whenever I think about that, I'm like, I have no interest in being morbidly obese.
Uh-oh, did we lose ya? I think we lost her, but that is our amazing Susan Schultz. Technology.
Are you there?
Oh, there you are.
Anyway, grace in between times. That's what I'm learning.
Yes, exactly. Grace for all the things and love and compassion. And it really goes a long way, especially to ourselves. And it's one of the hardest things, I think, to do. It's said that we're more critical of ourselves than anybody else, more judgmental, harder on ourselves.
And you know what? It's a habit. We don't mean to be, but some of the stuff that comes back up, stuff that I heard in my childhood, what's wrong with you? You're an idiot. That's the stuff that still comes up, and I have to stop when I hear it and be like, that's not true about me. It is an awareness. It is trying to establish. Being picked last for a team your whole life does not mean that as you have an opportunity to pick people for your team that you don't have to still pick yourself last. Like you can change that narrative. You are in control. If Scandal and Olivia Pope taught us nothing, it was that you can change the narrative and you can control the optics. Those are the things. Like those were my takeaways. And you can, and I can, and moving forward, I can build whatever I want. That's kind of the beauty of it. And sometimes when you're so stuck, you forget that you can. You forget that things are possible and that you have choices and you're not stuck. Just, you might have to detangle yourself from a few things, but it's not impossible.
So good. Thank you so much. You are amazing. This interview made me cry, gave me goosebumps, and all of those things. So thank you for being who you are. And I want to see you out there speaking and spreading all of this wisdom, because you truly are amazing and help a lot of people, whether you know it or not.
Thank you, Janice. I appreciate the opportunity. I love you. Thank you for all you do. You are a brave, amazing woman, and you are much appreciated.
Aw, thank you, Sue. Bye. Let me see.
Bye, friend. Love you.
Bye.